Yeah. I worked full time until last year. I worked full time as a carpenter, and then I would work on the real estate after hours. So this year I went part time, working 3 days a week, and then working on the real estate. So the goal is to slowly not work as a carpenter at all, and just work in the real estate and just kind of keep building that portfolio. I just didn't want to pay rent, and then I went on to like a deep dive into like what do wealthy people do to grow their wealth. And so it kept coming up: real estate, stocks, bonds, starting a business. So real estate just made more sense to me because I had the construction experience. So I could buy something that was really cheap, I'd fix it up, all my own labor, and it just made a lot of sense to me. Buying a stock from some company they don't know what they're doing, it just didn't. I had the ability to push a lot more, and I built my wealth a lot quicker than I think I could have ever done in just buying stocks and saving money.
Welcome, millionaires and future millionaires. You're listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast, a show where you'll hear the stories and interviews of everyday millionaires. We'll unveil their decisions, their strategies, and their portfolio allocation. Now to your host, Jace Mattinson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Millionaires Unveiled podcast. This is episode number 394.
This is the podcast where everyday millionaires share the real stories behind their wealth, how they built it, what they invested in, and the missteps they encountered along the way. We're your hosts, Jason and Stacy, and we're diving into candid conversations with people who might just be your next door neighbors. Our guests will uncover how they transform modest savings into significant wealth, offer investment tips that could change your financial outlook, and share personal stories that might surprise you and inspire you. So tune in and get ready to discover how regular people like us turned aspirations into achievements. And don't worry, while we dig deep for the details, we keep it all family friendly.
Hope everybody's having a great week. Congrats to those Kansas City and Philly fans. It is going to be the Super Bowl. And I know we don't talk about a lot of these things on the podcast anymore, but it is interesting. The economic impact of the big game is over $1 billion now. And it is still one of the top 3 sporting events in the world. So as we all tune in here in a couple weeks, we can all reminisce in the dollars that go to this game. I'm excited for it as always. It's always a good time. A lot of good memories around it, and a lot of lessons to be learned, especially as it relates to personal finance. And if you're going to the game and spending a pretty penny, or your company is, or friend is that's taking you, or whatever, just think $1 billion in one game from an economic impact standpoint. So going to be great on the podcast, which I'm teeing that up for something down here in a little bit, but we'll get to that later. And if you'd like to be on the show, send us an email, millionairesunveiled@gmail.com. We're always looking for new, great guests. In fact, today, I was thinking about it the other day. We haven't had a ton of, so-called electricians or plumbers or, and there's a big article running around that this is the new class of millionaires. I think the Wall Street Journal published it. But today we have one. He's a carpenter, and we'll get into that in a minute. But if you're in the trades, or if you're in some of these obscure professions, maybe it's oil fields, or I guess that's really not that obscure. It's just we haven't had that many guests on. Shoot us an email, millionairesunveiled@gmail.com. We'd love to have you on, tell your story, learn a little bit about your profession, what you do, how you've been able to accumulate wealth, become a millionaire. Because at the end of the day, we know that every profession has millionaires. It has been proven time and time again on our show. No matter how much you make, you can get there. So every profession has got them, and some of them are just a little more underrepresented on our show. And would love to get some more on. So if you haven't heard your story, also shoot us a note. We'd love to have you on the show. We've got a few good ones coming down the pipeline here pretty soon. But the calendar is open for all of Q1 and Q2. So today we're talking to Ben. He's got a net worth of $1.4 million. Most of it is in real estate, and he tells his story about buying his first house for a very, very, very small 5-figure sum. I think it was less than $15,000, and borrowed even some of that money to get the deal done because banks don't lend on that small of a purchase. So quite a remarkable story. He and his wife, he shares, never made more than $70,000 and has been able to get to a net worth of $1.4 million, mostly in real estate. He even had some hiccups and some losses along the way, but it's going to be a great episode. I think you're going to love it. It's definitely going to be a top hit for sure. And we get a little more about what he does as a carpenter on the day to day. So without any further delay, let's get right into the episode with Ben. Ben, do you want to just give us a lot of your background or what you're up to now?
Yeah, so my background, basically the journey that got me started in learning about wealth. I was 21. I bought a house in a rough area of town when I was going to college, and fixed that up slowly but surely. It was pretty in major needs repair. There's major water issues. It didn't have working plumbing. I lived there for a year and a half with no water, and I just showered at the college. So kind of that's the backstory. What I'm up to now is investing in real estate. I work as a carpenter and pump in any money that I have to buying real estate investments. And that's kind of been the main focus of my investing journey.
Nice. And what's your net worth today?
My net worth is 1.4 million.
And how is that broken up?
So it's mainly all in real estate. So I have a little spreadsheet here of it. I have about $100,000 in like stocks, and then some funds in retirement accounts. But the majority of it is all in real estate. About $3.3 million of real estate.
Okay. And how much do you have outside of real estate then?
So in non-retirement accounts, I have $100,000 in stocks and index funds. And then for retirement accounts, I have about $70,000 in retirement accounts. That's all in a Roth IRA. And so I buy some individual stocks, some of that. There's 0 bonds. And then I have my home equity and then real estate equity.
Nice. And when did you first become a millionaire?
I was 33, so I had an ambitious goal. When I was younger, just didn't really being rich didn't interest me, and then at some point it kind of clicked, and then I was like, I want to set a goal, see if I can become a millionaire by 33, and I did it. It was a lot of long nights, just insane working. I'd work a full-time job. I'd get 80 hours in 7 days, and then the rest of the time I would work on real estate.
Wow. And when you set out, I guess, how old were you when you made your first real estate investment?
I was 21, so that was kind of the beginning. I was going to college. I bought a house, found the cheapest place I could possibly find, $13,000. Place was a foreclosure. There was a homeless guy living in the garage. It was all trashed, and that was when I first got into real estate.
How did you come up with the money for that first deal when you were 21 in college?
So I kind of went later. Didn't go to college until I was 21. So I worked and saved up money, and then I borrowed some money from an old employer that I worked for, and so he helped me with some of it. So I paid him back, and then I also had some funds to fix up the property, but definitely not close to enough. I had saved up about $7,000, and then I borrowed money to buy the rest of it.
Nice. And what were you working prior to going to college at 21?
I was working in construction, so I was working for different. I worked for a log home company for a little while. Kind of growing up, I worked in my dad's business, and so he taught us a lot of just basic knowledge about how to do things. So I grew up doing that. So I started working when I was quite young with my dad, and then worked jobs when I was 16, all the way until I was 21 when I bought my first house.
And how much did you end up saving up during that period of time working in construction?
I think it was like $7,000.
Okay. And what was the price of that first house?
It was $13,000, and it was in a rough area, and it was a rough house. This was in 2009, so the market had crashed, and
$13,000. Wow.
yeah, so it was in the it was in a rough area. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but I worked on that, fixed that up, and then I had refinanced that later on and used that money to buy more real estate. But it was an experience living there because the plumbing wasn't working. There was no running water, and lived there. Just showered at the college, and didn't have a toilet, so that was a good experience. I just worked on it slowly because I didn't have the money to fix it up, so I had to save up enough money to buy some more plumbing stuff to redo. I had to redo all the fresh water and all the sewage lines.
Wow. So you do that first deal. How long did it take you to refi and get to that next deal?
It was quite a long time. I think it was probably maybe four years, I would say. It took me a while. It wasn't really interesting to me. It didn't click until later on. I wasn't planning on doing a real estate. I read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, later on, and that's kind of what got me going about real estate, and I just dove all in.
So did you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and then after you did that first deal?
Yeah, I really didn't know anything about the first deal. I just thought it just doesn't make sense to spend money on rent. So I said, well, if it's $13,000, I'm going to spend more than that on rent. So I might as well just buy something because people are telling me, oh, it's 2009, like the whole thing's crashing. You shouldn't buy real estate. It's so risky. But I was like, well, if I walk away and it's worth nothing, at least I didn't pay money for rent. So
Okay. And when you were kind of looking to get to that second deal, I mean, were you still working? Were you still in college? Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
yeah, so I was going to college. It just took me a long time to go to college. Going through, I took out some student loans in college, quite unconventionally, and would take those out every semester because I didn't need the money, and then I'd save that in a bank account that was giving me 3% interest on it, and I used that to buy another house. But it took me a long time. It took me 5 years just to fix up the house. I was doing some inner city ministry. I was working. I was going to college. It was pretty stretched.
Yeah, for sure. And at this point, how many units did you scale to?
So right now I have 15 units. So some of those are single family, duplex. That's kind of the mix.
Nice. And in terms of cash flow from these, I mean, what do you feel like you net pretty much a month?
So yeah, netting, it's you would think it'd be a little bit better. It just seems like I keep throwing money into them because I bought stuff that was needing in such repair. So I'd buy something, get somebody in it, and then start working on getting it fixed up because I had literally no money to start this all off. So that's kind of how I would build it. So I'd use the rents to put back into the properties. So I haven't taken any money out of the business. It just keeps growing the portfolio larger and larger. But like a gross, it's close to $300,000 in gross rents, and then I mean my spreadsheet paying off all the mortgages and everything. I have, let's see, about $17,000 a year in net profit. So it's not a ton, but I just put the money back into the real estate and try to build it up. I'd like to get to 100 units at some point.
Okay.
Kind of a goal. So it's kind of just keep growing it. At some point, maybe I'll slow down a little bit and try to just live off of the cash flow. I kind of go back and forth with it.
And in terms of getting to 100, how long do you think that'll take you?
Um, I think I'm just I'm slowing down a little bit of like pushing myself because I pushed myself for so long to try to get to that $1 million mark and stressing myself out. I kind of took I just recently broke my back. So I'm taking a little pause from things and trying to figure out uh, what I need to do next. So I'm just taking it slow. I'm not pushing myself like I was for so long.
And have you been working during this whole time as you built up the portfolio?
Yeah, I've worked full time until last year. I worked full time as a carpenter, and then I would work on the real estate after hours. So this year I went part time, working 3 days a week, and then working on the real estate. So the goal is to slowly not work as a carpenter at all, and just work in the real estate and just kind of keep building that portfolio.
And when you say carpenter, define what that looks like a little bit on your day to day for people who don't know.
Yeah, so I've done all sorts of different construction. So I've worked in the fields, doing a little commercial, mostly residential. So it's remodels for houses. So do trim, do I've done framing, done most of the aspects of basically building a house. So done some new builds, but not a ton.
Nice.
When was the last time you needed to go to the doctor but found yourself making excuses? I'm too busy. It'll heal on its own. I don't know which doctor to go to. I've been there. It's so easy to push off because booking an appointment can feel daunting. But not anymore. Thanks to ZocDoc, there's no reason to delay. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in network doctors and instantly book an appointment. They have more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty: mental health, dental health, primary care, urgent care, you name it. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are nearby, and fit your medical needs, all with verified patient ratings. And the best part? You can see the actual appointment openings and book visits typically within 24 to 72 hours, sometimes even the same day. I've used this recently for my knee, and you should too. Stop putting off the doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/millionaire to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/millionaire.
So 100 units, do you have a target net worth goal with that or cash flow goal?
Yeah, I mean, my goal would be to get to $10 million in net worth. 100 units would probably be a lot more than 10 million, but it depends on what the debt is on them.
Okay. And do you have, I mean, is that a BHAG, hey, I'll hit that when I, get to 60 or 70 when I want to retire, or is you've got a little accelerated plan to get there with the 100 units?
No, I just want to keep growing it. Originally, I was pushing hard, and then I've been kind of stepping back and just trying to think about how do I want to live and enjoy life as I grow it. So try to grow it, but also enjoy things, because I was working 40 hours plus another 30 hours for a long time and getting a little burned out. So I think I just want to keep growing, maybe, 5 units a year, just keep growing and building it up. And, maybe if we can get some larger apartment complexes under my belt, and then that you could grow it pretty quickly doing that.
Have you ever sold one of these properties that you've bought?
I had to sell some. I had a partnership that went bad, and it was a pretty rough experience. So we sold all the real estate that we owned together just to get a value of what it was. So we had five properties together. So I sold that, and then I've only sold one other property myself. Well, I had some flips. I did 3 flips that I would buy, fix up, and flip and make a profit on. So I've done some of that as well.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the partnership that went south.
Yeah, so I guess it was just I guess I learned a few things from it. It was quite a painful experience, but I learned to be better at communicating. Um, Basically, we had different views on what we wanted to do. He wanted to get out of the stuff. I didn't want to, and then I had done a lot of the work on the properties and never got paid for any of that. So I worked for quite a while just for free. So it was a hard loss. Um, so I guess vetting people better uh, would be helpful. I just kind of jumped into it um, and learned from the experience. So
Was it just kind of a handshake deal when you got into it then?
yeah, it was a handshake deal. But as I would go, I just didn't communicate like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're working on. I would just do things, and then he later on accused me of all sorts of stuff because I was operating it, so I did all the work, and just yeah, just had different views. He had no experience in construction or any understanding of how these things would work. I took it on because I was trying to look for someone that had a larger ability to get loans for properties, because that's always been the hardship for me, is to try to, because I've never made a ton of money, so it was always hard to get loans. So I was hoping to take him on as a partnership, and he could get the loans, and I could do the construction side. But that didn't pan out because he looked real flashy, but he didn't really have the ability to do it. So he already had too much debt himself. So
In Texas, we say, big hat, no cattle.
yep. Yeah, that's yeah, yep.
How much do you think that cost you?
I about $80,000.
Wow.
So it set me back a little bit. It set me back. Just I I don't like confrontation, so it just really had a hard time for me to like. But it kind of helped me learn through that it's part of life, and it's something that you gotta do just to. So it helped me. I grew from it, but it was a setback.
And how long ago was that?
It was about uh, well, yeah, it finally ended. It was 2 years ago,
Oh,
but we
wow.
went on
Okay.
for years just trying to negotiate different things, because he would say, "Oh, I want to do this," but then that would switch and change, and he'd change his mind. "Oh, I want to buy them all," and then I'd say, "Okay." We decide on a value, and then he's like, "No, I don't want to buy it anymore." It was just back and forth, all sorts of things, but good learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. So back in 20, and when you were 21, I mean, why did you choose real estate as kind of the vehicle? Was it the construction background that you had at that point that led you to that?
Yeah, so I went on so the first house I just bought because I just didn't want to pay rent, and then I went on to like a deep dive into like what do wealthy people do to grow their wealth, and so it kept coming up: real estate, stocks, bonds, starting a business. So real estate just made more sense to me because I had the construction experience, so I could buy something that was really cheap. I'd fix it up, all my own labor, and it just made a lot of sense to me. Buying a stock from some company they don't know what they're doing, it just didn't. I had the ability to push a lot more, and I built my wealth a lot quicker than I think I could have ever done in just buying stocks and saving money.
How come you've decided to invest some in the market when you've been so caught on the real estate track?
Yeah, that's just changed over the more recent time. I haven't had hardly. I would always save some in a Roth IRA, just so in case all of the real estate went to zero, I could still grow my retirement to have a comfortable. It'd probably be like right now what I'm investing. If it's projected, it should be like $1 million when I'm 65. But so that was kind of separate, and then I bought stuff um, that's just not in a retirement account, just so that I could have a little bit of liquidity. I've struggled a lot with putting money all back into the real estate, and then I got no liquidity. A roof, I need a new roof or whatever. Then I got to try to get money. So the stocks have been a little bit of a buffer, so I could sell some stock if I need to to get some cash quickly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Ever feel like you're running on empty, burned out, unfocused, and just surviving the day? Trust me, with 5 kids and twins, I've been there. What if I told you there's a way to invest in your mental wealth, just like you invest in your financial future? Mental wealth is about building habits today that make you resilient for tomorrow. And that's where Magic Mind comes in. Their focus shots help me stay clear, sharp, and productive all day without the caffeine rush. And their sleep shots, a total game changer. They help me wind down at night, so I wake up refreshed and ready to tackle the day. For the first time ever, Magic Mind has bundled their focus and sleep shots into a 24-hour mental performance pack. And right now, you can get it for 45% off, exclusive to my listeners. Just head to magicmind.com/unveiled, JAN. That's magicmind.com/unveiled, JAN. So this January, take the Mental Wealth Challenge and make 2025 your best year yet. Better focus, better sleep, and a better you. Go to magicmind.com/unveiled, Jan, and start building your mental wealth today.
Well, Ben, it's quite the journey. I'm curious before we jump into rapid fire questions. You mentioned that you've never really made a ton of money. What has been kind of the range of household income for you?
So back working. I mean, I from zero. I used to work for no money just to get experience. I remember working at 14 for a guy building mini barns for free, just because I wanted to work and learn. And then it's gone all the way up to about $70,000. I've never made more than $70,000 combined with my wife. So it's been all. I mean, I've worked a lot on the real estate, but that's not, created
A lot
any
of sweat
income.
equity.
Sweat equity, yeah.
For sure.
So yeah.
Wow. Quite the journey, man. No more than 75 grand, 1.4 million in your mid 30s. It's heck of a run.
Yeah.
With a broken back.
With the recently.
Recently.
Yeah.
How did you do that again?
I was working on some soffit and fascia on a property, and I put the ladder down in this tall grass. I didn't really check. I just kind of shook it, didn't check the feet, and started climbing up it, and got to the top, and it kicked out and landed straight on my back and broke 5 of my vertebrae.
Oh, wow.
So
How far
healing
was
up
that
from
fall?
that. It was only like 12 feet, but for some reason I landed, and
12 feet's no joke, though, when you're landing straight on your back.
yeah, I knocked the wind out of me. I rolled around. I thought I was gonna die. I just rolled around on the ground. I couldn't breathe. It was just.
Oh, yeah.
I've never had that experience. It was so long. Man.
Wow. Well, good. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire questions. What's the most expensive pair of shoes or pants that you purchased?
So shoes would be work boots. I think I still get them cheap from a discount place, but they're I think $80. Pants. My wife has probably bought more expensive pants, but I've never paid more than $30.
Okay. What about the most expensive meal out that you paid for?
So this is an experience. We were walking with my wife downtown, and I just said, that looks like a nice restaurant. And we went in there, and it was so expensive. There was a bottle of wine for like $2,000, and I was like, oh. So, but we got the cheap stuff. We bought the chicken, but it was still probably close to $100 and some dollars. So it was not something we planned on, but it turned out it was a nice experience.
Wow. What about the most expensive trip or vacation?
Haven't done much in that arena. Probably $700.
Okay. What about the most expensive car?
It'd be my wife's car. I think it was $20,000.
You buy that brand new?
No, that was used.
Okay. What's the key lesson you learned from childhood?
I really learned from my dad to be creative and to think outside the box. So that's where like the creative real estate, I've been so creative with it, from, taking out student loans to using credit cards to buying stuff on land contracts. So my dad taught us to just really think in an unconventional way.
Okay. What's the dumbest thing you've ever done with money? Maybe that partnership? I don't know.
Yeah, that was the part partnership for sure was basically just kind of trusting someone and not really just saying like, yeah, it's going to work out in the end, rather than like trying to bill for my hours or doing different things, and just thinking that, oh yeah, we're going to work it out in the end. And it just doesn't work if you don't try to do it up front.
Okay. What's something you spend way too much money on but you don't regret?
I guess I like to go. I don't know if I spend a ton of money that I don't regret. Going out to a nice fancy hotel, I enjoy doing that. I haven't spent a ton of money because it just goes into, I guess, buying real estate. I spent a lot of money on that.
Okay. What financial habit have you changed the most since you became a millionaire?
I've been less frugal. I used to be extremely frugal. Like I wouldn't even buy gum or anything. I would eat out of the dumpster. I spent like 2 years. I'd only eat food from the dumpster, and just so I've changed now. I'm buying steak and doing stuff quite differently. So I also have kept more in reserves and been a little more risk averse compared to what it used to be. It used to just be whatever it takes.
Okay. How close are all your rentals to you?
So I have I have them here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're about 15 minutes away from all of them, most all of them. I have three units in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. What's the craziest thing that you ever done to earn money?
I don't know. I've done crazy things to not waste money. So like eating from a dumpster and getting just like all my clothes free, trying to not spend any money. Basically, I don't know. I worked 80 hours in 7 days, and then I'd have a week on, week off. So, but it wasn't. I don't know. I just worked in a group home with youth, so I could really crank the hours in. I worked second and third shift.
Okay. What's a closely held belief that you once had that you recently changed your mind on?
I guess that it's been changing to be a little more conservative with having more cash reserves. I used to just not have anything, and so now I'm trying to build that up and play a little more defense and a little less offense.
Any last words of advice for somebody who's just starting out on their journey?
I just think you should jump in and just like you can get into analysis paralysis where you just think about things. I just jump in and try to go for it, and then try to figure it out as you go. So I would just buy something and just get going on it. And like one house I bought, I didn't know if the plumbing was working. I got people moved in there, and it turned on the water. It wouldn't work, and replumbed it until 4 a.m. And just you just kind of force yourself into uncomfortable situations, and you learn to move, to change and grow to make it where it's not so uncomfortable.
Awesome. That's Ben with a net worth of $1.4 million. Never made over $75,000 per year. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast with Jace Mattinson. For more stories, investment opportunities, and information, check out our website, millionairesunveiled.com. See you next time when you'll hear from another everyday millionaire.